everyone. Always such a blessing to join you on our live talk presentations. We are thankful for the support that you show to the program and for tuning in on the various things that we talk and share with you on how to grow your faith, how to handle matters in your life, because God truly wants us to be well rounded. And we do not only want to preach sermons, we want to also inspire you on how to be a well rounded believer in your finances, your marriage, and just things that are happening in your life and in the world. And Life Talk is where we do this. It's where we have those dialogues. So thank you for joining us. And I am very excited, as always, to have our guests be with us to join in those various conversations. And I have with me two individuals who have dedicated themselves to sharing in business, in ministry, because I call the work they do ministry, and in love, because they are a couple. So welcome, Esther and Ronce, and it is a blessing to have you with us this afternoon. We spoke recently, and the audience was truly very blessed by your presentation on the various things that we had talked about. And so this afternoon, we are beginning again to just have you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and how you partner together and work as a couple to be able to assist the community of faith and beyond.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. We really enjoyed the session last time. What we learned was that we have grown to really enjoy working together, and to see it come across that way was really, really exciting on screen after I watched the show. But, we work in the area of finance and financial education. I'm a financial advisor, and Ron and I work together now for, oh my goodness, I guess maybe 8 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't always good. In the beginning, he tried to make me him, and I tried to turn him into me. I'm the one who does a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
I'm the more outgoing person.
Yeah.
He is the person who's more technical, who dots the I's, crosses the T's, and I guess does all the research.
Right.
Right. So we had a very different backgrounds growing up, right?
Yeah. I came from automotive. I was an automotive technician for about 10 years. And I like troubleshooting, and I like structured, and it has to be A, B, and C, and that type of deal. But whenever you are a financial planner and you're dealing with people, and there is no straight lines. And that's where she comes in. She understands how to build rapport with the person, get them comfortable enough to be able to share exactly what's in their mind. And then we can figure out how is it that we can help them.
Yeah, I started in finance. I went from, initially I was a financial aid advisor. I worked at Brooklyn College, Pace University, Atlantic Union College in Massachusetts. And after that last position, I decided that I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. I wanted to work for myself. I didn't like having a boss. And so I got into mortgages, and then real estate, and eventually financial planning. I did some construction management as well. So, I kind of did a little bit of everything.
You put your hand in everything. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a good thing.
And then I ended up in financial services, not because I wanted to. Nobody says, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a financial advisor. Nobody dreams that.
Not really.
It just, not really. It's just something that kind of came upon me. And I realized that I gathered a lot of information over the time. I really liked learning. And I also really like sharing. You know, I think I'm really good with people. At least that's what they say.
Right.
So I suppose it's true. And being able to explain things to people in a way that they understand. And and with working with Ron, he affords me to do the things that I'm good at, and he does the things that he's good at.
Right.
It took us years to figure this out. So for those of you who want to work with your spouse, listen, it's not easy. You got to kind of figure out what's your personality types. I would suggest maybe doing, it's called a Tony Robbins disc test.
That's where I come in. We do temperament testing, the personality testing, and we figure out, who you are and how well you work together, and if you should even work together. I think, though, what I appreciated at my side, you are both believers, which is great. So you're coming from a faith background as well. And
Yes.
even though I'm sure it was challenging at first, and I would be surprised if it wasn't, because you're a man, she's a woman, you have your different ways that you do things, the way you process, and sometimes just by virtue of being a couple, it's like bringing business into it could probably make things a little more complex. But I think when you're able to add faith and your belief system and working for the greater good of the family, of course, and then you're doing it for the love of bettering lives, then it kind of changes all the tension and who's better, and you just become a team, right?
It was very challenging. I think he quit and he didn't want to work with me anymore for years.
I love the
And
truth on this show.
that's all we got, the truth, right? So I begged and I begged and I begged, and we started figuring out, and I wish we did more of this at church or more of this somewhere where you can figure out how to work with each other.
Right.
Outside of like an entrepreneurship background, or maybe if you did network marketing or something, you learn these types of things. But within our church, we don't learn like, oh, well, you're like this and you like that. And then we just try to figure everybody's the same and we work together. And it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, he would ask me, so what do you say to the client? And I would say, well, you just tell them something. Like, I don't know.
So that doesn't make sense to me, because it will have to be, it's like a formula. You do A, B, and you get C.
Right.
But when you work with a person, it's not that way. You say this particular thing. And what helped me overcome that is really sports, and just taking that into life. For instance, there is no player that goes in and says, how am I going to be able to, you got to tell me in advance which route I have to go, where am I going to have to run through to be able to score whatever number of points. The opportunities come up as you play. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that you practice, make sure that you drill, and whenever the opportunities come, and you will learn how to take advantage of them as you grow. So
Absolutely. And also, one thing I really loved about Ron, which was really helpful, is that he was devoted to personal development. Like, we listened to a lot of podcasts and audios, and he doesn't like reading books.
yeah, I'm not like a reader guy, so I would,
Audiobook
yeah,
everything.
No more
audiobook
audio.
yeah, so give me a book to read, and the book is going to stay there. But if I get an audio, I'll listen to it over and over and over and over.
And because of that, he was able to say, oh, now I understand what you meant when you said this. So, and then I started listening and say, oh, so that is how you're like. And it's like, oh. And then through the journey of entrepreneurship, we actually learned a lot about each other.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about each other. So, and, we were always committed to staying together.
Yes.
That was never an option, not being together. But working together, I always thought that he's really amazing to work with. And She didn't think I was amazing, so I did.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That look right there is like $1 million. That is priceless. I absolutely love it. That was hilarious. So, what was that all about? Let's hear your version. There's always two sides, well, three sides to every story.
So Esther is just like I said before. She's spontaneous. She so she's the opposite in a lot of ways of how I am. So in sports, to be good, you have to like practice really. You have to really put in the practice. You have to drill whatever. And even with dealing with cars, when I was um, uh, in a mechanic school, I asked the question, how many times do I have to pull this engine apart to not forget parts? And the instructor told me, well, after you do it about 1,000 times, that's when you start forgetting parts. I said,
Wow.
1,000. So you really have to put in a lot of work. But she's the type of person that is good, and she knows that she's good. So I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna. And she goes in, she gets it done. I was like, I don't know how you do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. And then when I asked the questions as to how did you do X, Y, and Z, she just said, well, she's unconsciously competent in a lot of ways.
Mm.
So that's why the practicing maybe didn't wasn't important at that time. But as we started to learn about each other and how important it is, then we started to um, talk to each other and use that as a form of practice when you're talking with individuals. So yeah.
I think you would make a great candidate for the show Black Love. So we're going to talk about that. We'll do our own version of that. But
Yeah.
I really appreciated that background, and I wanted that to be a part of the dialogue because I believe in a world where there is a lot of competition. That sadly and unfortunately, even couples compete with each other.
Right.
And as a result, it has led to a lot of separations, a lot of divisions, and unfortunately, even divorce.
We did that.
Well,
We did that. We do. We
we
compete.
believe in competing but not combating.
Okay, understood. But are you competing
So
against each other, or do you compete in the sense that you are competing to the point where you each are working toward a goal that is still for the betterment of the marriage and the business? I'm talking about the competitions that are actually working against each other, that
Yeah, we can
couples
get back to
are
this.
actually
yeah,
competing to their own detriment. Because to me, if you're on the same team, if this is your husband and your wife, you're on the same team if you're in a good
right.
marriage. So the
Yes.
things that you should be doing are working towards the betterment of the relationship and not to its
Absolutely.
demise or its divide. So
Yeah.
it's to that kind of competition,
Gotcha.
that I'm saying no. And which is why I admire the fact that, yes, you were saying it was challenging, it wasn't a cup of tea. We were not all over each other, trying to have this business. We were butting heads and we had our tensions, but we grew and we
Yeah.
saw our errors, we saw mistakes, and we learned from them. And we decide we're going to do this together. So I love it. I love it. I think it makes for a
Absolutely.
great, encouraging story. Well, let's go now into what exactly you are doing together, which is where I believe the audience is really going to benefit from your services. So tell us a little bit about some of the services that you offer in the financial business that you are in.
Okay, so quite a few things.
Mhm.
First and foremost is, I would say, having people figure out a budget. Most people do not have a budget. That is your
True.
foundation of your financial plan. And you have no idea. Like, literally, I would say 98% of the people we talk to do not have a budget.
Yeah.
Very rare that we have someone who has a budget, like a real budget. No one. So I recommend first step, get Mint. Get Mint.
Mint is an app that you can just download. You connect your bank account to it, and it would generate a report as to what is it that you're spending your money on. And at the end of the week, at the end of the month, you can see what categories you're spending your money on, and really decide whether this is too much, or I should, see what is it that you can do to change that. But it'll give you a
So
visual of
that's
what's
the
going
that's
on.
the nice way of saying it. What
Thanks for
Mint does is
clarifying that.
Mint
Yeah.
tells you about yourself. It exposes your bad habits to you. Because what happens with most people is that they lie to themselves about the amount of money they spend on Uber, on Uber Eats, on shopping, on
Grubhub,
clothes, Grubhub, on
Amazon.
DoorDash.
Amazon, on
Yeah.
shoes. So you say, oh, okay, I only spend $400 a month on food when it's really eight.
Wow.
Or I've had someone who spent $1,200 on Uber. I said, well, why don't you get a
Wow.
car? No, literally this week, okay? This week, last week, I had a client, lives at home with parents. She spends all her money, nothing saved. She doesn't pay rent. So where is the money going? You have thousands of dollars coming in. And she couldn't say. And she's been working at her job for about 18 years.
Mm.
She couldn't say. She has no idea. So pretty much she's been working for free for 18 years. And this is where the importance of having a financial advisor. A lot of people think, well, and especially people in our communities, they think, I will get a financial advisor when I have money.
And that is a misconception, because if you
Great
don't get,
misconception.
it's like saying, whenever I get fit, I'm going to get a fitness trainer. No, you need the fitness trainer in order for you to
No,
get fit.
that's
If
an
not, you're never
interesting
going
one.
to get there.
Absolutely.
That
So
was an interesting one, but very true. Facts.
facts. Yeah, sometimes I really don't like him because he's very much with the
Too factual, but we need facts.
very factual. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
We
But
need facts.
he's
Well,
extremely factual. Mhm.
I want to ask you this because I liked the fact that he clarified this. I don't know if I even heard of Mint before. So now my interest is actually perked up. So I hope the audience also has caught on to this,
Yeah.
getting the app. Tell us a little bit, even though that wasn't directly in our line of questioning, what are probably at least two or three of the key things a person should do as it relates to budgeting so that they are able to really manage their income flow and their expenses?
Number one would be establish the budget. It's not going to be perfect,
Okay.
and review it once per month. And
Mhm.
then you'll be able to see what are the other areas that you're spending in, and you can add it to the list of things that you know for a fact that you're spending money in, and then decide, well, that would be number one. Number two would be to establish how much is it that you want to save, regardless as to whether you have a financial plan or not. You should be saving. And just like we do with tithing, um, people usually don't do that, but when you tithe, you take the money out that doesn't
First,
belong to you first, and you return that with your offering. And what the trap that we get into, or that most people get into, is that we save what is left, but
Mm.
usually nothing is left. And it's the same thing with the tithe. If you don't take it out first and you say, I'm going to take it out after I pay for everything, it's never going to be there. So
correct. For
return your tithe,
Mhm.
pay yourself, and then leave on the rest. And it will be enough.
Wow,
So,
that's
okay.
amazing.
So let me give you facts, truth again. So initially, when I first started as a financial advisor, and when learning to become a financial advisor, it was a process. I didn't have a budget. I didn't have an automatic savings plan or anything. I started learning and then seeing the importance, and sometimes you need help from your partner. Your partner is, if you're married, guys, please use the strong points of your partner. So if he's the Mr. Implement everything, right? I come up with the ideas and he implements everything. Okay. So he said, well, we need to start saving every month. I said, okay. And I started doing saving after we paid the bills. And then he just set everything up. And then the savings comes out automatically and I don't miss it. And I haven't missed it for years. And that's something that we have to do, because if it comes out automatically, you would only spend what is left.
So let me
Right?
interrupt you for a minute, because that part there kind of piqued my interest also. When you say automatically, because I know we have auto pay for car insurance, we have auto pay for the credit cards, we have auto pay for the utilities. How do you auto pay the savings? Are you talking about
So
direct deposit or?
no, so you can select if you only have a savings account. Let's say that you have a savings and a checking account, and your pay comes into your checking account. You can set it up so that a certain amount of that money goes into your savings account automatically every week or every 2 weeks or once per month. And once that happens, you don't have to think about, oh, I got paid, let me take out X, Y, and Z amount. It just happens.
Yes, I did that in the past, but I wanted the audience to get that information because we are doing this
Yeah,
for
right.
for the audience. We're moving quickly
So,
on our time, so we want to get through the other very, important aspects that we have that I really want to hear you guys about the loans and home ownership and all of that. So very quickly, you talk about the financial planning. Tell us very quickly what are some of the other financial services, and then we can move into some of the professional advice that you give on the other topics we
sure.
have.
Sure. So things like retirement planning,
That's
401ks for
important.
businesses, setting up a 401k for an individual who is self-employed, an IRA, a Roth IRA, rolling over your old retirement plan from your old job, maybe even setting up a mutual fund. You probably need, if you're a homeowner, you need a trust. Okay, that's important. We'll get to that soon. Um, Maybe setting up $1 million baby plan for your baby. You know, that's an important one.
Very
Uh,
important.
life
College.
insurance, college planning,
Yeah.
all of those things. So when you sit down for with a financial advisor, you need to find out, well, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you want to accomplish? And that dictates what type of product or service that you need. Most of the time, people have no idea what they need. So we have to go through a discovery process to figure out, and then a learning process to learn about the different types of products. For example, I had a client say to me, I have a whole term. I'm like, what is a whole term? She said, it's a term for my whole life, because on her contract it said term till 95,
Mm,
not knowing that, oh, the period, she had a 20-year term, and after 20 years the premium skyrocketed and would continue to climb every year moving forward. She had no clue, and she believed and trusted her agent. So, not that I'm saying you shouldn't trust your agent, I'm saying you need to become self educated. YouTube and Google, there's no excuse for not
Hmm.
knowing.
do
In
your
addition,
homework.
do your
Yeah.
homework. I mean, I've done tons of what I've learned. Let me tell you what I've learned. I've learned this week, last week, this week, that someone with a tax ID, no green card, no social, no citizen, can get life insurance, can get a retirement plan,
To be
right?
able to save for their
To
future.
save for their future. Like, and there are companies that will take them. Like, I didn't know that because I didn't have a lot of clients in that field. And I ended up in a situation where I ended up with tons of clients who either had a social, no work permit, or no social, like immigration situations where
Right.
their status was not. But guess what? There are options for those people,
Yeah.
and really great options too. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So now it's something that I've learned, and now able to share and give
Hmm.
back to people, because a lot of people who are in those positions are very scared. And one of the things I want you to take away from this meeting is the importance of becoming empowered financially.
Yes.
Right? And reaching out to us, get educated, learn. There's a lot that's there for you, and it's not as expensive as you think.
And I think probably that's a lot of the concerns of individuals. I don't make a lot of money. We're a poor family. The issues and conversations of wealth is for people who are well established. They're professionals. They have salaries. And so people shy away from making even provisions and preparations. Let's talk very quickly, as you mentioned, the matters, and that's for either you or Ronce. As it returns to retirement, one of the things that I'm also learning is that you can attach a retirement plan to a life insurance policy that could come into maturity, at a certain time, that you can pull out of even before death, and leave off of that. So can you just touch on that? Ronce, you just give the audience, because I think a lot of people hear life insurance and they think they're going to die. And so they stay away from even getting one, and forgetting that there are other benefits that are attached to that, like retirement.
Mm-hmm. So life insurance, there was two different type of life insurance. You have your grandparents' life insurance, and you have the new type of life insurance. And in your grandparents' type of life insurance, somebody had to die, and then the people that are stayed behind and that are living get to enjoy that money. And who wants that?
Who wants
so I haven't met one. I haven't met a person. The new type of life insurance is very fluid. You can find some that are investment grade, but at the very basic, you're able to use the benefit while you're still alive for things such as, God forbid, that, as a matter of fact, you're either going to get sick and then you get graduated.
You die. Right.
Or you're going to just
thank you.
Get graduated one time. God just call your number.
He's so nice. Graduated. Okay.
But look, so the truth will make us free.
There you go.
Yep.
So the thing is that if a person gets a stroke, gets a heart attack, and they're going to be sick for a long time, and their health is going to deteriorate until the point when they're perished. With the old type of life insurance, it's going to be a long wait. But with the new one, the company said, you know what? It doesn't make sense. Use the death benefit while you're still alive to pay for a person to come and take care of you. God, who knows if you're able to go to a different country and be able to get cured with some other treatment. Use that while you're still alive. In addition to that, you can that could be a purpose, or you can structure it for the purpose of investing for it to grow, so that it may be able to supplement your retirement whenever you decide to stop working or slow down at the pace at which you're working.
So what happens with that is that your life insurance has a benefit or a shelter. It has a tax shelter that the money that grows inside of it, you don't have to pay taxes on it.
Right.
Right? So so your 401k, your IRA, your mutual funds, your stocks, anything that's any growth, any profit, you must pay taxes.
Capital gains tax.
Capital gains tax. Or if it's in your 401k, your income tax when you pull the money out.
Right.
Oh, by the way, people don't know that when they get to retirement, they have to pay taxes on their 401ks.
They're learning that the hard way.
Yeah, they're learning it the hard way. In addition, your Social Security can become taxable as well. That's a whole other crazy.
The little thing they already cut in half. Okay, but that's another show.
Yeah, that's another show. So your Social Security is taxable. Your retirement account, your pension, all of that is taxable. However, your Roth IRAs are not taxable because you pay taxes up front, and you fund your life insurance with after-tax dollars. And if it's an investment grade means that it has a high interest rate that it grows by, and you can pull that money out tax-free and use it as to supplement your retirement.
Mm.
And a lot of people, and you don't have to pay any taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You could
And
even
that's the
use
kind of information we want to give our audience.
Absolutely. With your $1 million baby plan, you could use that to fund your child's college, right? And not have to worry about, well, I have money, so, my expected family contribution is going to be increased. Because if you have a 529 plan, they're going to take that money in your 529 plan and attach it to your expected family contribution, and out the window goes your aid.
Yeah.
But if you have that money within the life insurance for your child that you saved, guess what? You don't have to worry about, it doesn't affect your expected family contribution. You can get full aid. So there's quite a few things that you can do with life insurance. It requires some research. Don't let people tell you stuff. You need to do research. You have whole life. You have indexed universal life. You have variable universal life. You have regular straight universal life. You have term. There's tons of different types of insurances. You need to do your research to see what are the different types, what are the pros and cons, how do they work, and work with an advisor that can do all of them.
So it's not only once you hear life insurance, I'm going to die and this is the money I'm going to leave for everybody. And then since nobody wants to die, then nobody wants to get a life insurance policy.
Right.
And then all the problems emerge 5-10 years from now, and families, are in chaos. Not forgetting, you can also take sometimes loans against these policies, depending on what kind of policy you have. You can kind of withdraw from them and things like that. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
so, as Esther mentioned before, if you have one that you have been funding for some time, you can take it out to pay for college tuition or the student loan. So what we have for our daughter is something that we set up is that by the time she gets to 25, 28, and she graduates, we'll have the money or enough money to pay off part or the entire amount of the student loan. And to me, that will work as leverage too, because if she doesn't graduate with a certain grade, I can always say the student loans are yours. I don't pay for B's and C's and B's.
Okay, we can pay for A's and B's. She can pay for C's and D's. Right?
That's another show.
That's another show. So I would say this, with regards to life insurance, it's important to do some research. And I would say if you've had your policy for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, how long, you probably need a life insurance audit. So you guys can reach out to us. And this is just, we call with you to the company and ask them some questions. We didn't say change your policy. Just ask them some questions. There are 10 questions that I ask. And at the end of those questions, you're going to decide whether or not the answers that your company gave you on the recorded line, say that their recorded line is sufficient for you to keep that policy, or maybe you want to look into getting an upgrade, right? So that's important. Now, with regards to your savings, guys, it's important, really important, to figure out how much money you need to get saved. If you're getting to retirement, let's just say you need $100,000 a year, I don't know. You got to figure out how much money you need. And until you figure that out, you're not going to know how much money you need to save, where you need to save it, and are you going to be retiring with dignity, or you're not going to be happy with where you're going to be retired. Do not wait until you get to 65, 70, 60, 55 to say, oh, well, let me figure this out. You need to do it now, because you have time now to take advantage of the rule of 72, which deals with your compound interest. Really important that you get that done today.
All right, somebody needs to be calling you very, very, very shortly. Now, let's jump into home ownership because I know that this is something that was of great interest to the audience. A lot of people had reached out, on that. Some people are afraid of investing in a home. One, the responsibility. Two, there is so much that comes with it. But from what we are learning, there are also grants that are available for first time home owners. Can you talk to us a little bit and give the audience some information on why it may be helpful to consider home ownership over just renting for the rest of your life? Of course, I'm sure the matters of age may be a factor and budget and finance and all of that, but all things considered, what are some of the grants and opportunities that are out there if you are buying and if you've already bought your first home but you didn't have that information, are you able to still benefit from those grants for first time home owners?
So if you go to the FHA website, and the information that I sent you is the correct website for the state of New York. There is another website for the FHA, and it has a list of all the states and what programs are available there. In New York, people have there is a total of about $40,000 in grants that you can receive to help you pay for your down payment and your closing cost for first-time home buyers. And the way the process works is that you will go to a community-based organization that will sit down with you, do an assessment to see what programs are you going to do you qualify for, and once you have how much money is it that you qualify for, they will send you to a lender to see how much mortgage really can you carry, and the last thing is going to be for you to go and find a realtor and go find a house within your budget.
Okay, so that's a real important point there. Okay, so in my real estate days, not that it's gone behind me, but I only work with sellers mostly right now. People would come and say, I want to buy a house. And in my naivete in the beginning, I would take them out and we go looking and then, oh, we found a house and now let's go to figure out if you can qualify for a mortgage. No, the first thing to do is find out how much you can qualify for. Look at your credit report. Maybe you need to improve your credit. Right. Maybe your credit is good, but your debt utilization is bad, right. Meaning that you have a high score, but you have high balances on your account. Listen, if you have a high score and you have a lot of debt, the lenders are going to want you to pay that off. Right. Okay? They're not going to want you to give you more debt on top of the debt you already have, because that's like sinking the ship. Okay? So it's really, 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 really important to take a look at where you are financially. How much money are you making? How much money are you declaring? Okay, so I know, okay, so this is what it is. Some people don't declare all of the money they make
because they don't want to pay too much in taxes. But the thing is that the flip side to that is that whenever you're searching for a property to buy, you're not going to it's not going to show on paper that you have that capacity to carry that much mortgage.
Yeah, because they're going to look at your income that you have, and they're going to look at your 1040s. So you're only making $35,000 on your tax returns, but you're clocking 100. Yeah, you can't go tell the bank, well, I'm making 100. They're not going to see that. They're going to look at you. They're going to look at your tax returns.
Right.
So and they need 2 years tax returns. So you got to do the right thing. Because there are benefits that come with doing the right thing to qualify for the mortgage, get your credit. The FHA loans, there's FHA and there's also Stony May for the state of New York. You're able to go, and there are a lot of grant programs. $40,000 is a lot of money.
That is a lot of money towards a down payment.
That's a lot of money. And right now, interest rates are really, really low. So it's important that if you can capitalize on it, do it. Now, there are different types of mortgages that you can get. And there's something really interesting that people should consider. You can get what is called an interest-only mortgage. where
Mm.
you only pay the interest. Why would you want to only pay the interest? Because after 30 years at the end, you still owe the entire 300, $500,000.
Correct.
But guess what? For those 30 years, you're able to deduct
100.
all of the interest, 100% of the interest every single year for 30 years. So when you buy a home, one of the benefits over renting is that you can deduct mortgage interest.
The downside to that is that as the years go by, you start paying less in interest and more on the principal. So that means that as the years go by, the amount of the benefit that you're getting in that deduction gets depleted.
But so most people don't realize that when you have a conventional 30-year mortgage, at the end of the 30 years, the mortgage is paid off, but your tax deductions declined over time. So this is their strategies to kind of figure out, well, what's the benefit?
Well,
And if you get an interest only mortgage, the payments are less.
well,
So
not only that, if you take a look at the picture, at the end of 30 years, if everything went well, you end up with a paid up house. You are 30 years older. Hopefully you're going to be retiring, so you're not going to have any type of income. You have a house with this bunch of equity, which is value, and nothing in your pocket. So the idea or the strategy behind an interest only mortgage is that by only paying the interest, being able to deduct the full amount of getting a full deduction of the interest and saving the difference in anything, well, a mutual fund, in your retirement account, in a life insurance, at the end of those 30 years, you will have more than enough money to cancel the initial balance and have cash in your pocket, and you still have the equity of your property.
now those are advanced strategies, guys. So this is important to sit with an advisor and figure that out.
And which is why we have you both, so that, any questions that the audience may have as it relates to the, US region, that because this is a global broadcast, that somebody should
Right.
be able to, reach out and get further information and detail, because obviously we can't give them everything through the broadcast, and they're still going to be needing that kind of expanded knowledge, so you can walk them through the
Yeah.
full understanding of how they could benefit. I want to ask you though, in relation to that, one of the things that came up in the dialogue with meeting with you today was PMI. Tell us what is that and how it relates to lending.
So PMI is mortgage insurance. And when the lender believes that you are a high risk, or they believe that
You didn't put 20% down in the
Mm.
beginning, you automatically get PMI. There are very few companies that don't give PMI if you don't put 20% down. That's how it works. No 20%, you get PMI. That's just how that works.
Okay, so that's good to know. So, Ron, say, what's the P in the PMI? I know it's mortgage insurance. What's the P? What does
I
the
don't
P
remember.
stands for? Is it premium?
I think it's private mortgage insurance.
Private. Okay.
Private?
Okay. Just
Yeah, I think that's what it is
Private.
too.
okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to
I know the
understand the
other-
full term, and it's okay. We just want to, but at least we know it's mortgage insurance. Okay, and these are some of the things I think people miss. Now, Esther, does the homeowner who is a first-time buyer who already went out and did all the work and put down all the little money they had in their savings to get the house, are there any grants or things that homeowner could still qualify for, or are these grants just for the people who have not purchased yet?
So there is two answers to that question. So answer number one is so actually it's not an answer. The question, I would ask a question: do your spouse have the same name as you do, last name? If the answer is no, your spouse can qualify for a first-time home buyer and you can purchase a second property.
Got it.
Technically, you can do that. If you don't, and you're doing it together because both of you have the same last name,
and both of you are on the mortgage,
yes.
you know, it's challenging. Some instances after a 2-year period and you've never done a first time home buyer, it's possible. You gotta go into the lender and see the qualifications. It may be possible 2 years after your first purchase. It's sometimes it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So you want to do that first time home buyer upfront. Let's get it done. If you want to have your first time home buyer mortgage and my first time home buyer mortgage, okay, that works out quite well. I would say if you have the opportunity to get the home ownership done now, get it done. Get it done. Take the opportunity.
I'm sorry.
It's the reason why I believe in home ownership. It's harder to kick out a homeowner than it is to kick out a tenant.
True.
One. Number
True.
two, you have the tax benefits of home ownership. And be a savvy homeowner. Savvy. If you have tenants, please, please, please run your background checks, get your tenants in, you do what you have to do. If they're 30 days late on their rent, file the 30-day notice. Do not, oh, well, you know, they're going to get it to me. They gave me $5 out of the $100. No, file your 30-day notice, put it in court immediately so that if they bring the money, then you can cancel the filing. But if you wait 30 days, 90 days, then now you've been behind on your mortgage all this time and you can fall into foreclosure. So it's really important to protect your property, protect your family. 30 days, that tenant is late, you make sure you file that 30-day notice immediately.
Yeah.
So yes, Ronse.
And the third thing I would say is that unlike renting, where your payment is increased every year or every 2 years, with the mortgage is going to be the same level payment for the next 30 years. So that is another advantage of having a mortgage over renting.
Oh, also,
Yes.
please. A lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I have 100,000 down, 200,000, and I want to put a large down payment." Now, let me ask you a question. If you put a large down payment and something happened to you and you need money, where are you going to get it from if you put all of your money into the property? So you're sick, or there's a pandemic, you lost your job, and you need your liquid cash, but you've put this large $150,000 down payment to reduce your mortgage by a couple of dollars a month. Guess what? You're stuck. They're not going to give you a refinance.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. We had a client who was working. He got a bonus. He put $150,000 to reduce his mortgage. A couple months later, pandemic hit. He can't pay his mortgage. He lost his contract. He went to the bank and said, "I need that money I gave you 6 months ago." Said, "Sorry, you need to refinance, but you can't because you don't have a job."
Wow.
So it's really important to pay it. Having your liquid cash is king, because if the equity of your property goes down, the equity is gone. You can't pull it out. So you want to harvest the equity out of that home.
Great advice. So we're coming down to the closer part of the end of our time together. But before we do that, I do want to ask you about energy audit. That is something that came up in our discussion as well for people with who are homeowners. What is energy audit? How does that fit? Very brief explanation. How does that fit into the whole concept of ownership and all of that?
So heat and electricity audit or energy audit is a study that is done on your property to see how well is it insulated to prevent the loss of heat during the winter, to prevent the loss of cool air during the summer, and also how much electricity is it pulling to keep it bright during the night. So there is grants in the state of New York where people that are on a fixed income, or regardless of what whether you are working or not or unemployed, they can get the study done to help them do the repairs, insulate the property, change light bulbs and whatnot to reduce their monthly expenses or reduce the cost of that by 30 to 40% per year. And the state will cover the cost of those repairs. So the insulation around the windows, inside the walls, changing the light bulbs in the property will be covered by the state per income guidelines.
So think about it. If someone's heating bill is like $400 a month, or $500 a month, $6,000 a year, you're looking at, whoa, 30-40%, that's a couple $1,000s. Now that money can be repurposed into saving for maybe their retirement or different things. In addition, by doing the audit and getting the insulation done, your property value is increased.
Yeah.
And you didn't pay for it.
Yeah. So
great, Tom. Great move. Very great move. What was that, Ron said?
If you're looking to sell your property, this would be one of the things that you can do if the property is older, that you can do to improve it, increase its value, and not have to come out of the pocket for that improvement.
Good stuff. I mean, things people probably don't think about. They're probably like, okay, my bill is $500 in electricity. Well, that's what you pay, and just not realizing that there are ways that can be modified to even a greater benefit. Quickly, again, I'm sorry, Esther.
I was saying we have a partner that does that, the energy audits.
Okay.
So he's phenomenal. He's great at the paperwork, like 2-page application, 3-day turnaround time. We've been sending our clients over to him, and they've been loving it.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're definitely gonna hope that the audience pays attention to the energy audit program and to reach out to be able to benefit from that. Quickly, what are the pros and cons of condo co-op versus a house?
So there is a few things. Number one, I would say that you have to be careful with, some people don't know that they have to pay an HOA fee, which is a fee that you pay for maintenance of your building. So taking out the garbage, making sure that it's clean from snow during the winter, that they take care of the green
landscaping. Because I live in a condo, so the landscaping and all that stuff.
There is something called special assessments, and some condos have a pool of money that they will use or they would accumulate for future repairs of the building, and some condos don't have it. And whenever their repairs are needed, they would do a study and see how much it would cost for the owners of each unit to pay for it in equal portions according to whatever is it that according to the amount of property that they have, and they'll have to get into this and pay for it for depending on for how much it costs. It 6 months, a year, and there is some special assessments that take years, 2-3 years to pay off, and that is above in addition to your HOA fees that you must pay, and of course the mortgage if you have not paid it off. So taking a look and see if this condo has a special fund for addressing those type of issues would be something that you must take a look in.
Also, I would say knowing the difference between a co-op and a condo. A condo and a private house are both real property. A co-op, you're buying shares in a unit. So it's not real property. It doesn't have the benefits that you would have of your condo and your property. Right. Some condos, listen, you have to have special permissions by the board to get in, to sell. They want to investigate who you're selling to. There are a lot of little features. So you got to look like what comes with this condo. The great thing about a condo, guess what? You don't have to take out the garbage and you don't have to shovel the snow or cut the grass, right?
I love it.
Go in.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I mean, I technically live in a condo because I don't have to take out the garbage or shovel the snow. Okay?
That's the kind of arrangement I'm looking for the rest of my life. You can add look into that.
You got to write those things down on a list and check it off.
Contractual.
Really
I love it. That was a good one, Esther. That was a very good one. I love it. Awesome. Well, very quickly, 30 seconds, literally, because we're right at the end. Foreclosure. Is that a good idea, a bad idea? How does that benefit the buyer?
You're getting a property at a lower cost and less than market value. Bad, you're inheriting whatever problems come with the property. So you have to do an assessment to see whether or not, what problems does it have. You want to make sure you pay for that assessment to make sure you're buying a good deal.
A home inspection.
A home inspection. You need that home inspection. Foreclosures, I like foreclosures because you're going to make a profit. But guess what? Most of the time, most foreclosures, a lot of them, you have to have the full purchase price in cash. So maybe if you don't have the full purchase price, you're going up against someone who has the full purchase price, the cash buyers out there. If you're not that person, maybe you need to combine monies with a few people, form a corporation, get an attorney and accountant, not a handshake, okay? And go into it, and eventually you'll have enough money to do it on your own.
Yes.
So it's a great thing, but it requires work and research. Nothing
Absolutely.
Worthwhile is free.
And that's where Ronse comes in, because he's the research guy on the team. And so quickly, Ronse, literally we have about a minute left, 5 seconds. Availability, office hours, when are you reached? And we're going to be putting your information in the broadcast so that people could reach out and contact you. Availability, office hours, so that the audience can reach out for your information.
We're flexible on Sundays because, of course, events are. But Monday through Friday, we're here from 11 a.m. until probably like 7, 8 o'clock. And we sit down mostly in evenings with people because that's when they're off from work. So we are, unlike other financial planners, we're available after business hours because we understand we work with working people. So
yeah, as long as if you have a special time, then we'll try to accommodate by appointment, but normally 11 to 8.
Awesome. Once again, we are to the end of our broadcast this evening. Our hour passed so fast because the conversation is so deep and it's so much. Yes, and it's just excellent. So once again, I am going to be looking forward to another part because I know people are going to be reaching out and saying, you got to bring them back to talk about this and talk about that, which is what happened the last time.
I didn't forget to show you my books. I have books to show you. Oh my goodness.
So show us quickly, what books do you have? So bring it on to the, let me see, left, right. Awesome. Okay, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've learned about that book years ago. Awesome book. Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Definitely heard of him years ago. The Power of Zero. Okay, that's by David McKnight. Great choices. The first two I'm very familiar with, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Also great for public speakers. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, definitely great resources. And we can always make that available once our broadcast is over. Well, we're right down, folks, to our hour with you. Always great chatting with Esther and Ronse, a great couple in business, in ministry, and in love. It cannot get any better than this. God continue to bless you in the work that you are doing. And I look forward to the next time that we break down the other things on wealth and credit and home ownership, because we want to empower the community of faith. It is important.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us in the
Thank you for having us.
Thank
hour.
you.
Always
We
a
had a great
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
We enjoyed it. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you're doing. And, keep doing it. You are such a joy to listen to. So we
Thank
don't
you.
only just come on. I actually watched your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you.
And to everyone watching this afternoon, God continue to bless you and continue to keep the faith. Until next time on Live Talk, please take care of your finances.